allocations made when the exchange rate was not as it is today? Is the salary still relevant to the employees? Now, the second question is to Sandra Secretary. You talked about the right audience not being here. I may agree with you, but the question is, what do you think should be done to get the right audience to be part of this discussion and actually take action on these decisions? And finally, does the Parliament have any role or powers to amend the Constitution? When we said John Luke has given a lot of powers to the President, and he can use this power to send the MPs home, does the Parliament really have powers to amend the Constitution? Thank you.
On the oil lifting programs that are on internet, are they approved by Parliament? Number two is that the budget process starts, and we have an approved budget. Now the problem that we are seeing is actually in the implementation of the budget. And there was a discussion here sponsored by Ebony, where Dr. Alice presents a paper, and one of the recommendations was to establish a body that controls how money is disbursed to the agencies of the government based on their allocation in the budget. And he called that budget controller, the control of budget. I think that might be useful. Number three is that the problem we also have is that if we have this money managed by finance, how possible when you do the audit, because money is supposed to go to the agencies, and then you go later and check you receive this much for your activities, how are you spending? Because now, as we have heard from the former Minister of Agriculture, the actual amount that goes to the ministries and what is in the budget are completely different. So in a way, that the budget itself is useless. Yeah? Because looking at what the Undersecretary have said is that they are paying salaries from off the oil, but we are seeing their actual 50% increase in the actual amount based on the presentation Dr. Lwala have said. So these are critical issues that probably needs to be considered. Now, to the Undersecretary, I think when you were making a comment to what Betty said, I assume that it is a payment to cooperative banks towards shareholding of the government. Is that payments in the budget, or is it what you are doing is in this? Thank you.
Thank you. Now the panelists will answer these tranche of questions. When they're done, we'll go to the next.
Mortgaging of oil. You know, advance sales in the budget. In other words, the Ministry of Petroleum sells oil in advance. It is more or less a debt. You are literally borrowing the money, and you say, I will give you oil when I produce it. Yes, this has been going on. The Ministry of Petroleum is the one in charge of selling government oil. How much they have been selling I better be honest with you, I don't know. Why? Because it is only whenever we ask the Minister of Petroleum to give us an update, say from 1st July 2017 to 30th June, which is still ahead, to 30th June 2018, then I will get all what has been going on throughout the year. But there are quarterly reports. Quarterly reports, we have them. Indeed, we have mortgaged most of our oil which is underground due to the difficulties you have in the country. The second thing is the oversight role of the Assembly. Because here, Dr. Lual said the Assembly goes to snore. And everybody believes that the Assembly is dysfunctional. That is not true. We do our work. You come to the Assembly, you find us shouting over each other like nobody's business. But there must be something I want to clarify. The oversight role of the Assembly is inversely proportional to the level of socioeconomic development. the level of civic culture, democratization, and things like that. Most middle-income countries with a democratic culture score higher in oversight than otherwise. There are middle-income countries that have no democratic culture, and therefore their oversight role is even close to nil. Okay, I'm talking here now, for students in social sciences. These are things you can corroborate. Okay, so we can blame our MPs that, oh, they are not working, they are not what? In fragile states, with weak institutions, including weak parliaments, surely you cannot expect to score higher in oversight. MPs, like in our case now, an MP in South Sudan is the lowest paid in the world. How many of you here work for NGOs, international NGOs? Raise up your hands. Honestly, raise up your hands. Yes. Do you know you are more better paid than your MP in the National Assembly? In National Assembly today, an MP, my salary is equivalent to $40. My salary is equivalent to $40 a month. But this is it. This is it. This is it. You know, MPs here are working, or they are jumping over borders. And can you oversee somebody with a V8 when you are on a border? This is what I'm saying. Oversight role is inversely proportional to the level of socioeconomic development. And take my word. Madalena talked about her pain in overseeing the TFA being paid $15 per barrel. Yes, as I explained earlier, yes, I was in the negotiations. The story of TFA is long, but let me cut it short. We finally came to agree to pay 3.028 billion. That was a third of the whole sum required by, or at least the IMF told us to contribute towards sustainability of the economy of Sudan. The other one-third will be through their own reorganization from within, and the other one-third to come from the international community, Friends of Sudan. Our part, why we decided, well, we didn't decide ourselves. It was in negotiations. Yes, that time our lead negotiator thought that if we can pay them this 3.028 billion, we should be done with them in 3 years. So they would have already gone, and we take our oil. We did not contemplate other things. Rajab, you asked about the negotiations, and you remember you were there also. You remember the opposition said they want this parliament to be dismissed. The 400 MPs in this parliament should be dismissed and then reconstituted again. The argument was very clear that this assembly with the 400 members was a product of the ARCIS itself. It was ARCIS, we were fewer than that. But ARCIS added another 68 on top of the number that was there to make it 400. Now the same signatories of the ARCIS are arguing that we should throw away this assembly. The argument, of course, is long. There are the 170 South Sudan Legislative Assembly members. They were elected in 2010. And then there were 96 we sent to Khartoum. And then there were another 66 the president appointed. And then another 68 brought by ARCIS. So the total 400. Which MP are you going to pick and tell him or her to get up, leave your seat? For what? The argument was very clear from the government that since the idea of inclusivity is the underlying principle, it is better we increase the space. We open the space. We have been talking about the space. We open the space, put more 40 seats so that it will accommodate, this was United States, so that it will accommodate the other side that are not currently in the TNLA. So the revitalized assembly should be expanded by 40 more seats. This was the argument of the government. The others said no, reduce it. Reduce it to maybe those elected members plus us, and then these other people, you throw them away. Our argument again was, if you throw them away, they too will go and get guns and start shooting us. Again, you will have another unknown gunman. You see that? Roundabout. But anyway, that is outside this. Now you ask me about the value of the salaries. I just explained. The salaries of today mean nothing. Imagine if an MP is getting what I just said, as a bag of 50 kgs of maize flour is 9,000. That is exactly the salary of the MP. So I work only the whole month for 50 kg maize flour. Even if it was food for work, you can imagine the situation. So the salaries definitely don't reflect the purchasing power in the market. No. Because, you know, the exchange rate. Is Parliament, or does Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution? Yes, we have been the one amending the Constitution. We have the power to amend the Constitution. In fact, when ours will be completed, the revitalized one, we will integrate it into the Constitution. So Parliament has the power. It's not as weak as you can paint it. Parliament has power. Thank you.
Only one specific question which came from Rajab Mahandis, and then maybe with a correction, what my colleague David said, that if the terms booming is a relative term, so you could say Minister Ezekiel Lol is right if you specifically look at the oil, because oil was being produced 110,000 per day, it is 127 now. The price was 45, it is now 54. The budget was 300 million, we are now over $1 billion. So you could, in that world, you could say yes, it's booming. But if you use it in an economic term, then it's something else. Because you have to look at some of the indicators in order to show your boom. The exchange rate, we just discussed before, is 200, at least minimum, 200 pounds a dollar. At the budget time, it was 155. Even though the central bank is saying 131. Wherever they are getting that one. So maybe also the central bank would say the economy is booming, yeah, in that sense. You look at the inflation rate, my figures consistently for 26 months, consistently 26 months, is running triple digit. It's actually hyperinflation. We refuse to do that. So compare your hyperinflation and your booming economy. It doesn't. Now, on the advanced sales of oil, if the custodian of the money, public money, is only one person or one institution, Ministry of Finance. Nobody else. Minister of Petroleum cannot and should not sell oil. If that is happening, and I have seen some documents signed by the Minister of Petroleum, it should not be the case. And this goes down to what the Minister of Finance was saying in his budget speech. Indiscipline. So it's part of indiscipline. And I don't know what people will have to go to court in the future. There are new people who come and then they have found a lot of what you call irrevocable letter of guarantee issued by the central bank based on the letter of Minister of Petroleum. And the Minister of Finance comes and says, I don't recognize those. And they can go into international court. And I'm sure the Minister of Finance can win because he or she is the custodian. So there's no way the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry, even if they produce, say timber for instance, if timber was being properly channeled, there's no way it will be Ministry, the Minister of Agriculture will be the one to sell that one, or Minister of Mining, because I think they are now, we are producing, I hope, we are exporting gold. Am I right there? So again, it's not the Minister of Mining to do that. Everything goes back to finance. Again, on the, which I did not, I think it is, I quote it here, in the speech of the minister, and this is where I support him. And this is what we have been saying in the past, that no government institutions should have an account in its name in commercial bank. All accounts of spending government units are subordinates, are sub-accounts, or what we say, treasury single account at the central bank. So that in the morning, each unit will have its own money. To the end of the day, everything is under finance, called TS, treasury single account. This is how you handle it. But again, the problem of indiscipline is not there. People will also argue, who said, if you give finance, finance will spend my money without my knowledge. So they have their point. But we say, look, and I think Kosti tried, I think, during his time, which worked for some time, whereby you give quarterly budget, the spending unit, but you will not get the second quarter if you don't report, justify how much you have spent your money, because it has to be, you have to justify. And that part is very important for us to make it here, because if you don't justify your money, what have you spent, then finance has the right to withdraw that authority from you and begin to. But again, there are some cases where the spending unit will say, we are actually, we put our things and finance does not respect. And when you give people responsibility, and I'm talking about experience, in Khartoum for instance, we gave the spending unit authority for trouble, authority to pay, I think it was, you were there, electricity and other things. No, we took it away at that time, yeah. But when we gave the spending unit that authority, they were now able to properly control. So if you give authority, especially on trouble and medical, somebody mentioned before, there's no, the medical is there in the budget for unit. But then, yeah, but then when it is centralized and there are some abuses, then you have you run that risk, I think. Thank you.
I have 5 questions to answer. One of the questions is, why are we not having contingency? We cannot have contingency. The resources is not enough. We have only 32. And our expenditure required from us is 46. And that's why we requested the Parliament to allow us not to have this future generation fund, because there is no money that we can put it aside. And by the way, 64% of the budget is consumption, salary. So 36% remain for operation, for meeting obligation, international obligation, and the rest. So we don't have additional money to keep aside. Medical cases, it is not our responsibility in finance to plan for it. There is medical benefits under the court salaries and wages. If you have not planned for it, you don't expect us to release money to you. And if we release it, this is an indiscipline. And by the way, there is an abuse of these medical cases. There are certain institutions, medical institutions here, that claim they are representatives of some of the countries here, somewhere. They implement, whenever he goes to the medical doctor and say he's sick, yes, he's sick of heart disease and so on, but the doctor will not tell you how much it will cost. It will run to that company, whatever it is, and then they inflate the figures, they will agree and give the figures. Some of them even have become the doctors. They even prescribe, they even refer. We have got cases of that kind. So there's an abuse of this. If you have not budgeted for it, please don't do that. The right audience. I was saying the decision makers. Professor here was saying, yes, the young people are here so that they can learn. But the decision makers at this particular time, we have to be there, because we are the one running this country in policies making, in decision making, and the rest. So I wanted most of us to be here. How do we engage them to come in? I think this forum should continue to ask them, don't get tired, Professor, requesting them to attend any other forum that may come. So we need to engage them, they will come, some of them will come. Again, there is relevant salaries. Yes, he has already sufficiently explained it. We budgeted for it and we are paying for it, and the inflation, as I explained, it is also be promoted by some of us. I put it very clear there. Cooperative bank, yes, it is budgeted. We are paying it under our code called transfers. This is an amount allocated for international and regional organizations, subscriptions and fees. So this is being budgeted, it is budgeted. Thank you.
Because my colleagues have said everything, but I want to respond to the constitutional amendment, whether Parliament have the power. Constitutional amendment is vested in the President through Article 101, subsector F, that the President will initiate. But the Parliament have the power to consider what is initiated, whether to pass it or not to pass it. So it is not the President just bringing it and then it is passed. The Parliament discuss. And then whether the Parliament have power and or should be scrapped, it has been answered, but I want to tell you that the Parliament is working a lot. It is the oversight that we are talking about, that the Parliament is weak on the other oversight. But on the other issues, the Parliament are passing laws, they're discussing them, and they're working. And why are they weak on the oversight? I think Dr. Wall explained there when he was talking of self-interest, that some people have their self-interest which are being supported, and then it doesn't merge with the rest of the interests. If we have peace in this country, this self-interest will be scrapped, and the fear of doing things also will be scrapped. All we need is peace. Thank you.
The Finance Ministry upon ministries that are not spending appropriately, or other measures within your government system? What are the, we've identified the problem, so what's the solution there that you are pursuing as a government to this, to institute the budget discipline? And then to the exchange rate, I'm interested to hear more. We've discussed the exchange rate a little, but and how that's a problem. But what's the right solution then? What's the? I mean, the bank is not here. The Bank of South Sudan is not present, I guess. But how would the government then rein in that yawning gap between the black market rate and the indicative rate, which is now easily over £100 beyond? It creates very destructive opportunities for arbitrage that it's suggested sometimes that the government itself benefits from this gap and this arbitrage. So what's the right solution there to bring that black market down? Hopefully it would not include national security going in and disrupting the small boys in the market, who are a symptom, not a cause of maybe the black market increases.
Thank you.
And member of South Sudan Human Rights Forum. I have a few questions here, directed to the founders. One, reports are submitted to the Parliament by the Auditor General and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the Parliament remains silent. Why? This is directed to Dr. Mike. Two, the other secretaries, do you agree with the overhaul of the civil servant sector, since there are gaps that are observed and also attributed to have observed also? Three, is the central bank implementing monetary policy reform? Civil service reform. Three, is the central bank implementing monetary policies as mandated? This is directed to all of you, but there is no right person that I have seen there. Has stated that there should have been a member from the central bank that could also answer. Let me just go to the issue of central bank. Because when
Please question minister, more people to do.
okay, then let me have my comments. I have on revitalization, because you touch about the fees.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah. All of you, you are members of SPLM. The fees rely in the hands of the SPLM. When we talk about the fees to come to South Sudan, it is SPLM that have the lion's share of the power sharing in the fees talk. And the opposition is saying that the SPLM has to be scaled down afresh, then formed again. Do you agree? That might be a credible solution.
So there's going to be
Therefore, the SPLM has to be dissolved. It has to be dissolved.
resolved.
The SPLM has to be dissolved and formed again. By the opposition groups. Why do I ask this question? We are the civil society, and our role in the peace talks or negotiations is to narrow down the gaps. Whoever has a critical idea, whether opposition or the government, then we must stand with the right proposal. So we want to observe this. I've seen you are fundamental or eminent members of the SPLM, and we will also see your observations. If you hesitate or tell us the right thing, then the civil society is there, and we'll put our way forward.
Which can never be realistic unless we get rid of God's name. Because we have over 700,000 approximately employed by the public sector, the national government. And when we practically get in, these people are not there physically. And I believe that what drains the national budget. And when we go to Infantry Division 4 in Unity State, The whole division defected, and this budget is still being maintained. It is going there, and millions of pounds goes there. The same thing, Infantry Division 8, the same thing happened, and millions of pounds goes there. How do you expect the budget to be accurately be executed when we visibly allow such huge amount to get into air? So if we are to make rid of current economic difficulties, we have to clean public payment rules. That's my suggestion, and I have been advocating for that. Two, Honorable Dr. Lual, the economics that we know, when we devalue money, there must be practical production of economy where we have to encourage export. The reason of devaluing is to make sure the available raw material are locally purchased such that we export easily to bring in hard currency. What was the avenue used because there were no technocrats involved? Devaluating our currency was politically motivated, and now the economy has collapsed. I have to say it has collapsed. I have been so vocal on that. Why should it be decreed to devalue money when we have such resource people who should have studied, get the implication of devaluing money? Because we have one commodity, which is crude oil. Why did we allow our currency be devalued when we should not? Because we don't have export. So that's, and in the deficit reduction, I would also say, why do we have to involve 400 MPs when we are supposed to reduce it in order for government to have lean such that services go to the people? Why do we have to pay you when you don't do anything to us? So you must be scaled down, and then the whole government, especially commissions, should be dissolved and put into mother ministries such that government remains small. I need actually 15 national ministers.
Okay.
They reduce that such that the budget is good. Thank you.
Are people reluctant to use the money as they want, or there is a policy whereby every ministry, once they get the money, what is expected from that ministry, and there is a follow-up? Who does this? Is it the Minister of Finance, or people are just reluctant, free to use it as they?
We have a real economy in South Sudan that we can talk about in terms of utilization of our land resources, in terms of capital that we are supposed to invest on, in terms of labor that are supposed to be productive, not fighting, and in terms of markets, which is supposed to be stable. Do we have that economy in South Sudan really, or we are wasting our time? That is the first thing. Mr. Rwani Buya, do you think we have a realistic budget given the economy that we have in South Sudan? Or it is a budget run by the crooks who want to just extract the resources of the state? Do we really have that realistic budget, or we are just wasting our time? Now, given that, yes or no, this economy, and yes or no, realistic or unrealistic budget, is it relevant really to talk of discipline or indiscipline? Are we not wasting our time in this room? Thank you very much.
So much. First of all, I must apologize because we had another meeting going on at the same time as this meeting, so we had to run a little back and forth. But I must say that it's from what I heard towards the end now, I think one of our most important part of this forum is, in addition to focus on economic aspects of South Sudan, it is also to provide this forum of free speech and free exchange of ideas. And I think that's, you know, the engagement from people in the audience here shows that certainly has that effect. And I'm really happy to see that this is working in that way. I'm also happy to see that the various branches of the government are here. And I believe that this kind of exchange is very important for developing the policies of South Sudan. So I thank you all for participating in this. And it's not my role to engage in the debate, but certainly to follow it. And I thank you all, and thank you also Dr. Lual for organizing this event.
Yeah, I was saying that we have to have a budget to function. When we talk of realistic budget or not realistic, I think all the budgets are realistic. Only maybe it is not sufficient to meet all the needs. So we can scale it down to the money we have or whatever the budget we have. But we have to have a budget. We cannot run a country without having a budget or something to refer to. I want to agree with Kevin that there should be sorting out of ghost names. There are ghost names everywhere, and this can actually reduce the expenditure we have. And he particularly talked about infantries in certain divisions that have defected. This is for the army to really to be honest and tell the Minister of Finance that all this money, these people are not yet there. I know the army in the past, 2012 and 2013, they screened and got a lot of money out of ghost names. But then after the war, this thing blotted again. So it is again for the army to begin to look at this, and it may be easy or not easy at this moment when we are fighting. The rest of the questions I will leave for.
They are all around the budget in terms of the workforce. We are saying the civil service reform. The parliament and the cabinet have accepted that there should be a screening of the pay sheets, but nothing is happening. Who initiated is an issue. So it's like a political will is somewhere to come in. The oversight, yes, when we release money, we always follow up by saying, you give us a progress report. You give us what you have spent that money on. And the only money, by the way, we are sending is only the money of the salary and the operation that we sell. And the salary, we base it on the basis that is sent to us. We assume that our colleagues, our people over there are telling us the truth. But the fact is that there are ghost names. But how can I prove that one? Until that body is formed to screen, I cannot confirm it. Even you who have said that there is ghost name, you will not even tell us unless you tell Wane or so and so are dead. But they are in a payslip still, then you will have no case. And then the budget is realistic. By the way, when we plan, we plan objectively. But when we implement subjectively. Do you know that? So it is up to you now, even you yourself, it's up to you to answer this. Implementation is other subjective. You are given 10,000 to go and buy these bottles of water, you will not buy them all. You may buy 20 instead of 25. This becomes subjective. And so that is what is happening. But it is not the budget that is the problem. Thank you.
Some 2 or 3 specific questions. 2 were from Phil Cumming of the US. The first is the role of the institutions of check and balances, especially the Minister of Justice, and maybe the fact this is a Public Accounts Committee in Parliament is supposed to be working closely with the committee which is chaired by David, the one on economy, because they are supposed to be quarterly reports on the performance of the budget. And this is where their role becomes critical. And this is not happening. And that's why we've been saying the oversight function of the legislature is weak. And so it also affects the other institutions which are supposed to look at. But David, I think, can make more on that later on. The exchange rate, which is linked to what Will did mention, and could also be linked to Professor Cook questions on the economy. And Phil, you used the word arbitrage. A young man, yeah, he's there, Gabriel Timaik, he did a good paper on the arbitrage driving the exchange rate volatility in South Sudan. And the arbitrage is when you find you can get this money, but the opportunity to sell whatever you have. So the moment you have that as an economic agent, you always look for opportunity to get that gain. And it's created, I'm sorry to say that, by our own institutions, which are responsible for that. Gabriel did a survey of the banking sector in South Sudan, and where he found, I think we still have about 28 banks, I believe, commercial banks, and he looked at the deposit, the central bank, because the banks, it comes to about 70% of that money which could have been lent, because what is the function of the bank? Is to lend money. That's all. If it doesn't lend money, it is a money box. So he found that 70% of the deposit is central bank, of which 18 is what I mentioned earlier, the treasury bill, and 52% sit idle in terms of pound. So where are the activities of the banking sector? Exchange rate, they are running, and the dollar has become a commodity. So it's no longer a medium of exchange, because money definition, you say money is, why do you need money? It is a medium of exchange. You use it to exchange, instead of bartering, using this water in order to get a bread. That's a barter. So the role of the money is for exchange. It's also defined as unit of account. And the third one is store of value. In South Sudan, dollar is more than that. Dollar is a commodity, and it is earned by the government, and also used for the store of value because of the inflationary behavior of the economy. So the exchange rate becomes critical. And the young man who asked there and here, because I was, from the very beginning, not for a fixed exchange rate. At the time when South Sudan was behaving abnormally in economic terms, all these banks came for what reason? In order to export the dollar. There was a requirement to be a bank, you pay $15 million. If you are national, pay over 3 years. You are foreign, 20 million, and within. And we turn around, the central bank was allocating on weekly basis. Each and every commercial bank was given $5 million a week. You have 4 weeks in a month. So you get that money back in 4 weeks. And then the rest you take back the money. Forex, there were over 70, I believe, at the time. Forex was being given between $1 million to $2 million a month, a week rather. Forex. Anywhere in the world, central bank does not deal with Forex. Forex deal, that is they deal with the commercial banks, public. So we're behaving abnormally, and the monetary policy focused only on the exchange rate. So we are at the time focusing, we say, you better realign. People talk of devaluation. Technically, I don't believe that's a devaluation. It is realignment, because the conversion between the official rate and the parallel market started to emerge after we shut down the oil. Because at the time, South Sudanese pound was strong, because we have a lot of dollars running after the pound. It is the other way. It is simple economic. It is counterintuitive, but that's the way it is. When you have so many things running after a few things, that thing goes up. So pound was strong. The moment we have no money coming again from the oil, then convergence, widening the gap between the parallel and the official rate. And some of us begin to say, look, and I use example, I'm a Dinka. As a Dinka person will sell his cow at the lower price, you are out of your mind. And we gave during the war, Thiet in Barazara Rumbek, people used to buy cows there. But they will look for a higher price. They would go to Uganda, take them a month. So why do you sell your dollar, you the government, cheaper? You sell it to the central bank, cheaper. Central bank boys and girls, they go and do their own thing there. And it goes to arbitrage. Phil was talking about, and the young man there has a paper on that. So we are benefiting very few people in the between. I know you are getting nervous, but it is very important to make this point and put it to rest, because every time we ask the question of exchange rate. So in my view, and I'm here to, I've written some papers. I'm looking at the Zimbabwean economy at the time, before the old man went. And if we are not careful, we will reach that level. So we say, before we reach that level of Zimbabwe, we are different in a way, because the government gets its dollar through the oil. David was talking about $14. 2 years ago, I give member of parliament $500 a month. The $40 is talking about today, I would say, get minimum wage $50 and pay people salaries and wages in dollars. So that you have many people with dollars, the price of the dollar against the pound will go down, or you can say the pound will become stronger, which meaning appreciating against the dollar. People thought I was crazy. Oh, where are we going to get the dollar? Come on, you are getting the dollar from the oil. And you are giving it to very few, to Lual and David and George, and we are the one, we are laughing at the rest of you. What? Some members, David was in that committee, they and you say, no, I cannot get 500. Why don't you make it 1,000? You cannot get it. Say, no, I will not accept to be paid 500 less than a driver in the NGO. I better remain. I gave example at the time. I don't know, what was it, 200? The exchange rate was 20 or something. We said, you today get your 9,800, just for it to be simple, say 10,000 pounds a month, MP get. That was 2 years ago. I said, David then was still a minister. I said, multiply by 4 times. You are getting, and increase the salaries 4 times. What will happen? Number one, the market is ahead of you. They will just go crazy. Number two, the IMF will say, you are going against, don't double your salaries. But if you pay people, the same time they say I say $500, I think at the time, the exchange rate, I can't remember which one, you get more than that. And we say the MP before the devaluation, before the realignment, used to get $3,300. Actually, in terms of dollar, it has dropped by 96%. So, but if you give you to 5, say today, the 500 multiplied by 200 is what? About 100,000 in terms of, and you will be able to use your $100 to give you your 2 month salary, which is 200, and keep the other 400. you will find that the reverse, the policy will change. And we are here to stay. Let's wait and see. That's eventually what needs to be done. Salaries, pay them. The market is already, it's dollarized mentally. When you ask a person, they put a price. Even the guy selling the charcoal, he will tell you what is the exchange rate today. And his country, he will now give you the price. So Phil, my advice would be, let's think outside the box. Now, the young man who was asking, because he knew I was behind, but there were what we call minimum preconditions. Even at the time, with my disagreement with David, but we agreed on that part, that, okay, he said, we accept your realignment, but then what are the conditions? We say 180 days supplies available in the market for 180 days. 6 months supplies available. So if the market begins to pump, then $300 million cash, so that the central bank will put, and whereas I was going for what I call managed float, not free. Now, central bank at the beginning, they did what? They went for auction. We said, don't do auction. And also auction, by definition, you go for the highest bidder. They reversed. They used to go for the minimum, And we said, what are you doing? We went, you didn't come with, but were Professor Spencer, Professor Marial to go and observe. We reported to the Vice President. We said, these guys are doing the reverse. And they will very soon run out of the dollar. This is what happened. Now, when we advise you, a medical doctor, it gives you that you have a malaria. It gives you chloroquine, or what is it? The chloroquine is still working? Whatever malaria thing. Then I go and say, I'm smart, I don't take the malaria thing. I think I have a typhoid. And that's what I say, as a medical doctor, those who recommended, we recommended the right thing, but you went and did your own other things. And that's why Dr. O'Cook, this is why we don't have that economy. You go and treat different treatment, and you think that your patient will work. It will not. So we don't have that economy in the real sense, so to speak. Well, some people tell me that every time you say the economy has collapsed, but it has not collapsed, it's still there. When we say which economy are we talking about? The official economy for all purposes has collapsed. What is functioning? It is an informal economy. An informal economy never collapses, it flourishes. Thank you.
Because some of them I have already answered before. I don't want to repeat what Honorable Dr. Deng have just spoken on arbitrage. We are exactly in the same situation we were in 2015 when the Treasury decided to devalue the currency. Our interest was, and our advice, the advice we used to get was that, hey, you are giving an exchange rate which does not reflect the market. Please get up and join the market. And we disagreed with Lual. We said no. If you get from 2.96 to 18, the market will jump from 18.5 to 20 something, and I'm sure now you know it. Now if we want to jump to the market to 250, we jump from where the government proposed rate is to there, and you do nothing, because it's not a matter of jumping. It is, what are the collaterals? What do you put? Do you inject hard currency in the market? If the answer is no, I say do nothing. The moment you inject money into the market, it will just come alone. And one of one of the solutions is the one proposed by Lowell, that pay people in dollars, because there will be plenty of dollars in everybody's hands, and therefore it will collapse alone to a certain equilibrium rate whereby demand for dollars and demand for and the supply of SSP will be equal. So, given that we have the war is still on our side, it is very difficult to manage or to create macroeconomic stability under the conditions of war. The histories of war have told it all. Just go and read them to refresh your memory. Until we balance between the expenditure of war and actually feeding our market, the SSP will continue to rise. Unless we pump money in the market, the SSP will stabilize. Okay? That is just the basic. Philip Cummings, you asked also about what are the punitive measures for those budget indiscipliners. We have what we call Appropriation Act, full of laws, phrases, which if somebody was found moving the budget from one chapter to another, there are punishments, punitive measures there. But you know, Parliament is not a law enforcement agency. We are not the police. I, as the chair of Finance Committee in Parliament, I cannot go and punish. I cannot go and punish another minister who has overspent his or her budget. But I will say you have overspent here. It is up to the law enforcement agencies to arrest. And some questions came. Yes, we are all for reforms, and if you see the RCs, the RCs talks of all reform in all sectors, including the civil service. Because as of now, our bureaucracy, it was already said, our bureaucracy is so weak. And that weakness, if bureaucracy is weak, then the real state of South Sudan is weak. The questions of fragility I said earlier. You know, you are just like going in consecutive cycles. Somebody wrote a note here, but you are not quoting me well, my brother. I didn't say, Dr. Mayo has said the system is not working. And there are some people who control the economy. Well, I didn't exactly say that. I'm sure many of you did not hear me say that. But I'm saying that oversight role is inversely related to the level of socioeconomic development, and a weak state, weak institutions means you cannot have a good oversight. As far as the control of economy by certain individuals, well, we talked earlier about centers of power. And you know, in the government, there are invisible circles. There are some who are more closer to the inner circle. There are some who are more farther in the outer circle. And resources tend to flow into the central circle. So the farther you are, you cannot control the economy, am I right? If you are far from the center of control, of doing things, you know, perhaps a sales officer may have more power than the manager up, you know, in the petroleum sector. I don't know. But anyway, you know, the second question is, what is the plan of the government about the oil wastage that is killing our people? We just had, I wish you attend Parliament, we just had a debate in Parliament about the environmental degradation, especially these oil companies suck 78% water and only about 12% oil. And then because we drill perpendicular, you cannot return this water back underground. So they then put it in large pools, which definitely are very, very disastrous. And there is a committee going to be formed. The ministers of environment are invited. They will be coming next week to Parliament. We will be questioning them. What are you doing with this? So your answer will be answered in due course.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard, we have come to the end of the deliberation. I think we have addressed some issues which have been bothering us. Our difficulty is that we don't have this kind of forum where we exchange views and come to some agreement on what the issues affecting this country. It is quite a process. When it does, many of us probably have not heard and they don't show up. I think in the future, I don't know what can be done, we'll try to encourage a lot of those who are actors in the economy and other sectors of government